What do you call someone who kills a decades-old brand, sends sales into a tailspin, and then tries to play on your sympathy using their employees as a bargaining chip to try and drive up sales? Well, if you're Anheuser-Busch, you call that person the CEO. Hey folks, Mark here from The Rational Workforce. Thanks so much for tuning in. You know, I have been in the workforce for a long time. I've worked for big companies, I've worked for small companies, I've worked for smaller companies that have been acquired by big companies. Thought I saw everything. It's incredible. Some companies can just hit rock bottom and keep digging. Let's jump in. We've got some more news about AB InBev. It is the story that will not die, and you're not going to believe this one. So let's go to it. So, a couple things to unpack in this one. First of all, Bud Light plummets to 14th place. 14th place among beers as Anheuser-Busch CEO pleads for customers to think of the 65,000 employees impacted by the boycotts. Let's get into this. Bud Light, once a beloved contender among the company's favorite beers, spirals down to the 14th spot, now trailing Pabst Blue Ribbon, Miller Genuine Draft, and Miller Lite. The seismic shift in popularity jeopardizes the livelihoods of the 65,000 people whose economic well-being is intrinsically tied, it says intricately, I think it's intrinsically, tied to Anheuser-Busch InBev's success. Get this. Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth has taken full responsibility for the controversial promotion, blah, 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 blah. In an interview with CBS, he emphasized that he is ultimately accountable for the actions of the company. Good. Expressed concern for the people whose livelihoods depend on Anheuser-Busch. Also good, but get this. It's the impact, honestly, on the employees that weighs most on me, he said. Whitworth called on people not to punish the workforce, but rather to attribute blame to him. He made it clear he acknowledges the repercussions of the promotion and urged consumers to continue supporting Bud Light. Okay, it's not because his ass might be on the line. It's not because he will eventually be held to task for shedding billions of dollars in market share and plummeting a brand that was once the number one beer in America all the way down the list to below PBR. No, he wants you to do it to think of the poor employees that might get laid off. Now, look, I am being overly sarcastic about that, not because I don't care about the employees. It's precisely the opposite. Employees consistently take the brunt of bad decisions, and this is an absolutely abhorrent example of an executive using them as a shield. He is weaponizing employees. He's trying to play upon your sympathies and use that to bring an end to the boycott that has caused his brand to torpedo. It's just absolutely shameless. And, you know, let's give the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that Anheuser-Busch is maybe a company that just thinks of everybody as family, and this is just really tragic, and maybe their heart is in the right place. Did a little digging. You decide for yourself. So this story goes back to 2010. Anheuser-Busch looks at layoffs of breweries. They're in talks with Teamster unions for voluntary layoffs, but no decisions have been made, but they're looking for people to raise their hand and say they want to go. Okay, well, maybe they're just being considerate there, right? Every business has to make cuts sometimes, huh? All right, let's see. This story is from 2017. AB InBev high-end beer division lays off 90% of its sales force. Gee, I wonder if it was we dumb consumers that caused those problems too. Let's keep going. Layoffs start again at Anheuser-Busch InBev. This is a story from December 18th. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see that about 6,000 people worked for Anheuser-Busch in the St. Louis area before InBev acquired the brewer in 2008. The company has said that number was about 4,000 at the end of 2011, which was the last time AB InBev would answer questions about the size of its workforce here. Interesting. Want something a little more recent? Sure. Let's give you one from last year. Anheuser-Busch sale leads to Oakland plant shutdown. An estimated 142 jobs will be eliminated due to the closure of a plant in Oakland, California. Okay, well, it seems like Anheuser-Busch maybe doesn't care so much about the impact on employees and their families when it benefits their own bottom line. It's precisely what the CEO is getting at right now. Don't fall prey to it. Don't feel guilty about it. You are voting with your wallet based upon a company acting in a way that's inconsistent with the way you want them to act. This has nothing to do with Mulvaney. It has nothing to do whether you think Dylan is an absolute trailblazer, wonderful person. This has nothing to do if you think that it's the worst thing that ever happened in the history of sponsorships. This commentary in this video is purely about how some organizations will stoop to any level to try and improve their lot. And it's just absolutely disgusting that they would put up an example of, think of our poor employees and please come back and buy our beer. Not cutting it. Not cutting it. How should this have been handled? Well, glad you asked. Let's take a look at this story also from just a day ago. Former Anheuser-Busch executive recently spoke out about the ongoing boycott the company is facing and warned that more layoffs at Bud Light as Bud Light sales decline. It's sure to happen, right? Anson Freiricks, the former president of operations for Anheuser-Busch, recently spoke with Fox Business Network's The Claman Countdown and said that Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth, my dog's scratching, sorry, should have responded differently to the ongoing controversy. And what he says here is absolutely spot on. Freiricks said that Whitworth should have responded by saying, "We wouldn't do this again because we lost billions of dollars in market cap. Our brands are down almost 30%, and all of a sudden we're putting a lot of our suppliers at risk, and they're laying off hundreds of people from jobs at their suppliers." How tough is that? How tough is that common sense response to accepting responsibility? You know, that's the right thing to do. That's the difference between leadership and bossing, right? It's the difference between having a leader who accepts responsibility, truly accepts responsibility, not some ham-handed way then passes the buck to somebody else, but someone who actually raises their hand, says, I did something wrong, and instead of blaming the consumers, maybe does a little bit of introspection and understands why things went the way they went and try a different approach next time. Fired up on this one, folks. It is something that it's just going to continue to evolve. I think it only is going to end when there's been a change of leadership. That's just the way I see it. But no matter where you fall down on the issue, would love to hear your input, would love to hear your opinion. Leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear your response to how the CEO behaved and what he said. And, how would you handle it differently? It's an ongoing story. We'll continue to cover it. We're going to continue to cover things that'll impact the workforce. And we're going to continue to get passionate about when we feel like people are being done wrong. There's an awful big halo effect on this one. It's families, and it always sucks no matter what the reason behind it. But, the problem is not with the consumers. The problem starts at the top. Whew. All right. I'm going to go have a Sam Adams, I think. But please ring the bell, subscribe, click like, do all the things. We'd love to continue growing the channel. And with that, we're going to sign off. We'll catch you on the next one. Have a great one.